What's up guys, and welcome back to What's for Supper. On today's episode, we're going to be doing an English inspired feast. For anyone that doesn't know, I'm from England and it's a bit of a rainy, gloomy day here in LA. Makes me feel nostalgic, makes me feel like home, so no better time than to make you some nice hearty English grub. So on today's menu we have baked camembert with crusty bread, a vegetarian mushroom Wellington, some perfect roast potatoes, some homemade gravy, and to finish things off we're going to do some tea and scones from Sugarbird. Yes, I know, another very selfless act of me to help out a small business and get rewarded with loads of scones, lots of clotted cream and a nice cup of tea. So let's get started. So we're going to kick things off with the vegetarian mushroom Wellington. So for anyone that doesn't know, a beef Wellington is a very classic English Sunday roast dish. It's got beef inside and the foie gras around it. It's kind of the opposite of being a vegetarian, but now we can do it with mushrooms and walnuts and rosemary and garlic, and trust me, it tastes so good. No animals are harmed in the process, and we're going to kick things off with 3 portobello mushrooms. We want to get a damp paper towel and just wipe off some of the dirt from the top, and then we want to scrape out the gills from inside. Just get a spoon, and then once we've scraped out the gills, we actually want to put them in a bowl. Just trim off the edges, trim off the stem, and then we'll just throw any of the trimmings into the large bowl. Then we want to get some olive oil, just give them a good rub, set that aside, and then we're going to get our baby Bella mushrooms and our shiitake mushrooms. You can use oyster, cremonai, whatever you want. It's going to give that meaty texture and taste. What we want to do, we want to get half of each of the mushrooms and put them in a food processor. And then we're going to add them to the large bowl. And then next we're going to get the remaining mushrooms and then just roughly chop them in half and quarter. Then we're going to do the same with the shiitake mushrooms, just nice and roughly chopped. Then we want to get about 7 cloves of garlic, chop them up nice and fine. Then we're going to add the garlic to the big bowl. Then we want about 3 tablespoons of rosemary, give them a nice chop, nice and fine. We want 4 shallots, and then chop the shallots nice and fine. If you haven't cooked with shallots before, they're a bit like a small red onion. You know, they still get your eyes nice and watery when you're chopping them, which is perfect when you're trying to cook on the camera. Let's add them. We give the bowl a good mix. Then we're going to set that bowl aside. And then next we're going to chop up a couple of yellow onions and then add them to the food processor. Then we're going to put them in a separate bowl. Then we're going to add just a teaspoon of brown sugar to help caramelize. Mix, set that aside and start frying. So we want a medium-high heat, good amount of olive oil in there. And then we're going to get the large bowl that has all the mushrooms and the garlic and the rosemary, and we're just going to throw it in there. And we're going to cook this for about 10 minutes until it gets nice and soft, succulent, delicious. It's already smelling good and we've barely started. I'm gonna get a good amount of molten flaky salt, some pepper. And for anyone that doesn't know, a good Sunday roast is a very traditional thing in England. Every Sunday, most families will have some sort of roast, whether you go to the pub and have a big roast with the trimmings and beer and you just eat too much and fall asleep for the rest of Sunday, or you do it with your friends and family at home, and it's a nice way to get together, have some family time. It's kind of like in America, you have your once a year Thanksgiving. We do it every week, you know, some hearty, nice, naughty food. And it's something that I miss, you know, living over here. I do miss that kind of Sunday roast. So implement it myself, make a Sunday roast, why not? I mean, this, again, like last episode, this is like a meal for like 15 people. So get all the family involved, you know? So now the mushrooms have been frying for about 10 minutes. We're gonna add some soy sauce, just 2 tablespoons. Then we're going to add some balsamic vinegar, about 3 tablespoons here, about a tablespoon's worth of thyme, just rip it off the sprigs. Then we just want to fry this for about 2 minutes, just to get that reduction, get it nice and rich. And then we want to transfer this all to a bowl, and then we want to make it cool, because when we make the Wellington, we want the ingredients to be slightly cooled so it forms better and it rolls better. Right, so now the mushrooms are cooling in a bowl, we're going to add the onions. We're going to save about a quarter of the onions for the gravy. Right, now the garlics are nice and softened. We are going to add 1 cup of apple cider. You can use apple juice. You can even use veggie stock if you want. Whatever you want, I don't mind. And then we want to cook this for about 10 minutes. The aim here is to get the apple cider soaked up into the onions, reduce the liquid, and enhance the flavor. Add a bit of salt, some pepper, So as you can see, the onions have now soaked up the cider vinegar. Now we're just gonna set that into a bowl. We wanna do the same as the mushrooms. You wanna set these aside and just let them cool. So I'm gonna throw them in the fridge. Next up, for the portobello mushrooms, we're gonna get a skillet, get some olive oil in there. And we're gonna cook these for about 4 to 5 minutes per side. And I must say, I'm very surprised and very grateful all the kind words you guys have said, all the response for the last video. It's been amazing. It's something that I try not to look too much into, because I think it's quite a dangerous game. The more you kind of crave that validation and affirmations from other people, I think it's like that pendulum swing. The more you crave that and need that, the more you struggle when you don't have that. And I think for me, trying to find something you love doing and that's the sole purpose and everything else is secondary, that's a winner for me. And I really appreciate all the suggestions you guys have. I promise I'll be doing plenty of videos about the mindset, about the books I've read. I think it's something that I really want to incorporate a lot into this channel. So good food, good vibes, that's all we need, right? Now with that said, the mushrooms are done, so I'm gonna set them aside, gills facing down. We're gonna take out our puff pastry from the freezer, let that thaw for about 30 minutes. While we wait for that, let's move on to the perfect roast potatoes. I'm fully aware of my arrogance in calling them perfect roast potatoes, but look, they're pretty bloody good, and quite nice potatoes doesn't have the same ring. So I'm gonna show you how to make them. We're gonna need about 7 white potatoes. I think that's what you guys call them in America. We call them Maris Piper or King Edward, but basically not the russet ones, the ones that are a bit whiter. They just have a better texture when you make them. So we're gonna peel the potatoes, and as we do this, we're gonna set the oven to 400 Fahrenheit. Right, now that we've taken the skin off, give them a quick wash, and then get a big old pot, pop the potatoes in, boiling water, plenty of salt. Then we're gonna part boil it on a high heat for about 10 minutes. Right, so now that the potatoes are boiled, give them a good shake, and this will just get them nice and fluffy, get some texture on them. So when they get in the oven, they get the butter, they get the olive oil, they'll get extra crispy, extra tasty, and some might say perfect. So we're gonna get a baking tray, we're gonna get a bunch of olive oil, just get it in there. Then we're gonna add some butter. This will really enhance the crisp and get it extra crunchy. Then we add the spuds. We give them a good shake, get the olive oil covered in there, get the butter on it. We're gonna add plenty of molten flaky salts, look at that. Plenty of pepper. Then we're gonna add it to the oven at 400 Fahrenheit for 25 to 30 minutes. So as the spuds are cooking, let's make the Wellington. First, we're gonna get the mushrooms that we left to cool. I'm gonna add some walnuts in them, about a 1/4 cup of walnuts. Gonna give this a good mix. Let's get some cling film, then a little bit of flour. Then we're gonna spoon about half of our mushroom mix. We want about 10 inches by 4. We'll get our onion mix. Then we're gonna add our portobello mushrooms, and we'll just place them on top. Then we're gonna use the remainder of the mushroom mix. So here is where we want to kind of get it into a nice even shape. So next I'm going to roll up the cellophane, just tuck it in there, lift it over there, and we want to get the sides and just give them a good twist. And the tighter we turn the sides, the more firm it gets. Now that it's a nice shape, I'm just going to pop it in the freezer for about 5 minutes just to kind of help solidify that form. Next we want to get some parchment paper. We want to get some flour. And then I'm going to put both layers on top of each other. I find this way it just really helps have a, a stronger shell for the Wellington. What we're going to do, we're going to roll this out slightly. This is basically just going to give us a bit more area surface to work with. And basically what we're doing here is creating kind of a rectangle to put the filling inside. We're going to get the filling back and then just give it an unravel. See already that shape is nicely formed. We grab the puff pastry and we just pull it over, tuck in our hands here and just roll it very slowly. Lovely. And then we're just going to tuck the sides in slightly, just give them a little pinch and a squish. And on the seam, you want to get a little bit of egg wash over the whole thing. And this is going to get it nice and extra crispy and golden brown. It's going to look lovely. We're going to get plenty of salt, and this is really going to help crisp it up. I'm going to get a knife and I'm going to create a little design, make it look a bit fancy. So what we're going to do, gentle slice from the middle, is just do very thin lines. And this is where you can get creative. You can use some of the leftover filo pastry to make some designs to put on top, but I'm just gonna keep it simple and just get some nice lines. Look at that. And then we throw that in the oven for about 45 to 50 minutes until golden brown. Let's take a little look at the spuds, shall we? They're already looking lovely. And this is where the magic happens. We want to get a potato masher. We want to give them a slight little push. And what this is going to do is help make them fluffy inside and give more texture so they're more crunchy on the outside. A bit more olive oil on top. We want to get about 5 cloves of garlic. We want to just throw them in with the skin on still so they don't burn. We want to get about 2 sprigs of rosemary. And then we throw these back in the oven for, again, about 25 to 30 minutes. And then they should be good. So while that is all cooking and smelling lovely, we're gonna get some veg, try and get a bit of health involved. So I'm just gonna get some carrots, and just really simple. I'm just gonna, bit of olive oil, bit of salt, put them on a baking tray, and throw them in the oven for about half an hour. That is it, just super simple, super delicious, and pop them in. So now that's all cooking, we're gonna crack on with the starter. Camembert cheese, I mean, how can you not love this? I'm fully aware Camembert is from France, but this is such a popular classic English starter. We have this all the time. I mean, how can you not want to get the Camembert with bread and gooiness? Oh, it's a winner every time, and it's so easy. So what we need to do, we get the Camembert, we take the wrapping off, we leave it in the wooden box, and then we just want to slice with a small knife. Basically, we just want to take off the top layer, just around like that. Then we want to get about 2 cloves of garlic. All we're going to do is basically prod the garlic in the top just like that. Then we want to get a few sprigs of rosemary. Again, same thing, you just want to prod them in top just like that. Deliciano. Then a little bit of olive oil on top, a little bit of salt. And that's it, we just throw it in the oven for about 20 minutes till it's nice and gooey. And then I just went for a take and bake small French baguette. It gets crisp on the outside, chew on the inside, perfect to dip into the Camembert. So 10 minutes in the oven. Right, so now for the gravy. We are gonna get a nice glug of olive oil. We're gonna add the remainder of the onions and 3 cloves of chopped garlic, and we're just gonna cook this for about 5 minutes. So now the onions are nice and soft. We're gonna add 3 tablespoons of soy sauce. It really adds to that richness. About a 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour, and then about 4 teaspoons of nutritional yeast, and then give it a good mix in, turn it into a bit of a paste. 2 cups of vegetable stock. Then you want to get a whisk and give it a good stir just so it gets nice and soft. If it gets too liquidy, then add some more flour. If it's too thick, add some more veggie stock. Nice and easy. And then let that simmer for about 10 minutes. So to finish things off, we're going to move on to the dessert, and we have got Sugarbird scones. Look at how delicious these are. I mean, if you haven't had a scone before, you can't get more English than that. And they just taste so good. It's a little bit naughty, but it's naughty but nice. We have some clotted cream that they've made, deliciano. We have some strawberry jam that I'm just gonna add into a little ramekin. And then get the clotted cream in there. Right, clean the spoon. I'm just gonna prop the scones just like that. And you might be asking, what are you gonna do with a little weird cup thing? We got given some chocolate truffles the other day, and I'm gonna throw a few in there. Look at that, easy peasy, the dessert is ready. So now it is time to check on the Wellington. Look at that beauty. It smells so good, I wish you could smell it with me. I'm obviously being very modest here, saying how great my cooking is. But, I mean, this is enough to serve a whole village, isn't it? Just me and Jen tonight again. But what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna give it a chop now so you can see how it looks inside. We're just gonna get a bread knife, give it a nice chop. Wow, guys, I mean, look at that. Oh, I could just eat it like a loaf. Absolute deliciano. Right, so I think the potatoes are done. Oh, look at that, guys. They look brown, they look crispy, they look fluffy. Oh, all of it. So let's serve these up. Oh, guys, the Camembert is done. It's looking gooey and juicy. Let me get the bread. Just nice, thin slices. I got some chili fig jam spread. Look at that, the starter is served. Carrots are done. Tiny bit more olive oil. Look at that, nice and simple, caramelized. And we got a bit of health in there with a loaf of bread and a gigantic Wellington. Right, and then last but not least, we've got the gravy. I'm gonna pour that in the little gravy boat. Now let's get the wife down and eat. Well, here we are, babe. Welcome to an English-inspired feast.
I am so lucky. I came downstairs and here we have an English feast.
It's a very big feast. I mean, I don't know why I keep feeding us like we're a whole village, but...
Well, I'm ready to tuck in.
Should we start with the camembert?
Yes! Mmm!
Just a wheel of cheese. Get your Wellington. Here we are, babe.
Get your welly out.
Get your welly out.
Ooh. Mmm! What the heck? Oh my god. It's very meaty. The textures go so well.
Very hearty, a lot of brown. It's kind of, we say hearty, but ironically it's kind of the closest thing that could give you a heart attack because there's so much fish and chips, brown, battered, pies, brown, Wellington, brown. Yeah, we're not really the sort of the healthiest cuisine. So guys, I do promise I will be doing healthier meals moving forward, but at the moment, the first two, quite naughty.
I'm fine with this pattern. I have no complaints. The potatoes. They're so crispy on the outside. So soft on the inside.
Oh dear, full again. But as you know, as always, there's extra room for dessert.
Absolutely.
A little bit of tea. We decided to go to Sugarbird, which is a local spot that do scones and clotted cream and afternoon tea sets. Scones is probably the most English thing you could possibly have, right?
I think so. It's like you guys are known for your scones and clotted cream.
Yeah, again, hearty. I know, right? Thing is, it's always raining in England, so you do want a bit of this comfort food, you know? You're not gonna want like a salad on a rainy day.
That's true.
This is so good. Right, guys, we're gonna keep tucking into this, get very full, then lie down. So thank you all for watching. Thank you for all your kind words, and we'll see you guys in the next one. See you later.